you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via Livestream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05 Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be back with you once again on Tuesday evening. Hopefully you had a great week. Happy spring. Now that we're in the spring season, it's nice that the days are getting a little bit longer, so it's not getting dark so early. And also, this is a good season for business. As it gets warmer, there's more opportunities for many businesses to sell and grow and get in front of more clients as people are more outdoors. So definitely looking forward to growth and continued success with your business. As you know, my goal is to help 1,008,000 businesses by 2028, helping them to grow revenue, increase profitability, and obtain financing. And this is one of the initiatives that we have to do that. We've got several additional ones, and we'll talk about those as we go. But this year, we're going to have a big focus on marketing and sales because that's your most important job. And that's the key to growing your business and making more money. So today, our topic has to do with marketing. We've got special guest Stan Robinson and really talking about the new rage, ChapGPT, and how can you use that for your business. So let me invite our guest, Stan Robinson, and what is ChapGPT and how can it help my business? Hey, good evening, Stan. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening, Andrew. Excellent. Thanks. Good to be here.
Excellent. Well, definitely glad to have you here. Appreciate the guests joining us as well. Hey, Roberta, thanks for joining us once again. Looking forward to really great show. Stan, known you for a long time. You try and stay ahead and with the technologies. So it's great to be able to talk to you about ChatGPT. But before we do that, let's take a second and just talk a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are? What are some of the key things that you learned? And, we'll cover that, take a few minutes before we really jump into the topic. Cool?
Very good. Very good. Well, the short version is that I spent a number of years in corporate America in different types of organizations, ranging from banking to publishing to nonprofit and technology. And my most recent roles were primarily in sales in the technology field, software, some hardware companies. And for the past, about going on 12 years, I've been working as an independent consultant, doing digital sales training with a focus on helping businesses and professionals use digital tools like LinkedIn and much more recently, tools like ChatGPT for branding, for sales, for building pipeline. and as part of their marketing strategy. So I spent a lot of time training corporate teams on how to use tools like LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, employee advocacy tools that help them to raise their visibility. And about 3 months ago, ChatGPT appeared on everyone's radar. Now, I didn't hear about it when it first came out. Um, I only heard about it and started playing with it, about a month or so ago. But it's very easy to see how powerful a tool it is and how it can help you to be much more productive. There are just certain things as we talk that you want to be aware of as far as the technology and what it can and cannot do. So I'm sure we'll be getting into that.
Okay. Excellent. So yeah, definitely look forward to getting into that. This evening we're gonna cover a lot of stuff. So definitely as you're here, um, please feel free to comment, ask questions. What we do this for you to help you be more successful. Before we jump into it, just want to take a second. We do this through the Small Business Pro University, so it'd be good to know what is the Small Business Pro University. So we'll take a minute to find that out. Do you own your business or does it own you? Is your business growing and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program or just simply choose the courses that you need. At www.sbprou.com, we will empower you to thrive and not just survive and make more money in any business environment. Great. We're going to come back with Stan, but before we do that, mention a quick initiative that we have. The Small Business Pro Network encourage you to join us, and you'll see more about it. But during the introductory phase, it's no cost, and you'll be grandfathered in at no cost. So I'll put the link up top, at the bottom, and feel free to join as we go. So, all right. So Stan, definitely GBT is all the rage right now. But everybody's heard of it and knows about it. But what really is it?
That is a good question, and hopefully they'll find a way to shorten the name from ChatGPT. The last version was 3.5, now it's GPT-4. So we'll come up with some type of shorter acronym. But all of us have interacted with usually a customer service chatbot. So we go to a website, and then usually in the bottom left, we'll see, hey, how can I help you? And you click on the little icon there, and it says, welcome, how can I help you? And you type in a question, and it comes back with an answer. So ChatGPT, you can view it as a chatbot that's powered by artificial intelligence. And the GPT, G stands for generative, P stands for pre-trained, and T stands for transformer. Now, to an extent, that really doesn't help us a great deal, but I wanted to mention that just to give you a little bit of context, because we may talk about how to use this tool or whether this tool should be used for search. Will this tool eventually replace Google and those types of things? One thing to keep in mind is that when we say that this tool is generative, that means that it uses a combination of data that it's been trained on and algorithms to generate new responses. And the thing that blew my mind about this tool and what everyone is kind of shocked at is how human-like the responses are that you get back to queries. And the way that the system is doing that is it's been trained on huge volumes of data. Now, let me say this right up front. It hasn't been trained on everything that's on the internet. And one of my next research subjects is to try and find out more about how the data was selected that it was trained on. But the thing that I want you to keep in mind is that the purpose of this tool is to generate content in answer to questions. The data that ChatGPT was trained on ended in 2021. So anything after 2021 is not in its toolkit of responses, so to speak. So that's the generative side. Okay, it's used to generate responses to queries. The pre-trained is something that I already alluded to, is the fact that it's been trained on a particular set of data. So even though it may appear to know everything that's on the internet, it does not. And the transformer is it is software that takes language, like queries that you type into chat, and transforms it into a form that a machine can read and respond to. So that's where the GPT comes in. And now at a more practical level, Andrew,
Hmm.
when you say what is it? Well, as soon as it came out, probably the first people to get a hold of it were kids in school. And they quickly figured out, I mean, way before folks like me heard of this tool, that you get a test, you type in the test questions, and it's going to give you the answers. And so one of the things that educators have been scrambling to try to figure out is, okay, how do we manage this? And I'll leave it at that. That's just one of many, many applications.
Okay. So that's even better than Cliff Notes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's scary.
Cliff,
And yeah,
yeah. So,
yes,
but
indeed.
yeah, I mean, definitely, um, this is, you said it's powered by AI. I didn't realize that it was a, certain data set. So does it
Yeah.
learn? And, as it does stuff, is it continuing to learn, or is it still focused on just the data set that's in it?
Great question. And I'm trying to get a a straight answer to that because I asked ChatGPT that question. So one of the things that I'm learning is when I think of a question about ChatGPT, first place I'm going to go is ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Now, sometimes it's going to come back and say, oh, and I forget the actual wording, but since I'm a natural language processing AI tool, I can't do this, this, and this. Like, in other words, Stan, I can't answer that question. But in answer to your question, it what it learns from your interactions will be incorporated in the tool, but not in real time.
Okay.
So I'm sure that behind the scenes, the owner of ChatGPT, OpenAI, is using all the data from users to put into the data set that it's using to train the system going forward.
Okay.
But it's not learning in real time from you such that it can take what you give it and then turn around and incorporate that new information into its responses. Now, as you go back and forth, you ask ChatGPT a question, it gives you an answer. You can ask for more detail. It feels like that's what it's doing. But as you said, it's been trained on a particular data set. The information we give it will be used, I'm sure, to update it, but not immediately, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay. So no, that makes sense. So, definitely, um, this is a little bit like science fiction. If you're my age, you may remember War Games. Um, if not
The
Terminator.
Terminator, yeah.
When is ChatGPT going to become self-aware and take over?
Well, the good news is that the even though ChatGPT generates responses that sound like it's talking to a person, which was one of the there's something called the Turing test
Okay.
because artificial intelligence, the technology, or what we call artificial intelligence, goes back to the mid 50s. I think the coin was termed around 1956. And the Turing test was developed by Alan Turing. If anyone watched the movie, I think it was called The Imitation Game, where it talked about how cryptographers were able to break Nazi codes.
Okay.
And one of the lead scientists on that project was a guy named Alan Turing. And the reason I mention that is because when it comes to machine intelligence, he developed something called the Turing test, which basically said that when machines reach the point where when you're interacting with a machine, you can't tell whether it's a machine or a human because the machine is that good at interacting with you. That's kind of the point at which we're in real trouble, so to speak.
Okay.
But in answer to your question, there are different forms of AI I'm learning. Generative AI is just one. There's something else called general artificial intelligence, which is closer to what you're talking about, which is the ability to learn from itself, to reprogram itself in real time, such that eventually anything involving intelligence, the machine can do better than humans.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
not there yet. ChatGPT is a distant cousin of that because it's not using the same type of technology that they'll need to use to do that.
Okay. So now, you've got Chat GPT, but also, my understanding is that there's other similar platforms
Yeah.
like Google and other places may not have released theirs yet. Um, you know, how do you think that's going to impact it, and what may those platforms be able to do that Chat GPT doesn't do now?
Good question. And that's one that literally, it's funny. I just got an email from Google today, and some of the people on this call may be getting these emails from Google to get on the wait list for their AI tool that'll compete with ChatGPT.
Okay.
Now, I haven't seen any of the videos, but I understand that Google tested a similar tool or tried to demo it. I think it was called Baird or Bard, BARD,
Hmm.
and it crashed. It didn't, which, this is Google, and they do a public demo and the tool doesn't. And I say it crashed, it's not like it stopped working from what I understand. I haven't seen the demo, but it did not do what it was supposed to do.
Okay. Okay.
So Google already has something. Facebook has a tool out there. I don't know the name of it. It may be Lambda, but don't hold me to that. So the point being, competitors are already there.
Hmm.
They haven't gotten the same type of airtime and play because they're probably a little bit behind where
Okay.
OpenAI is. For us as consumers, I mean, the good news is that we'll have choices and that
Hmm.
these tools will only get better. The bad news is we have to go through the process of trying to figure out, okay, which ones are going to be the best ones to do what we want to do, because most of us would rather just kind of like have one tool rather than a zillion tools, just like we'd rather have one master password
Right.
that's, you know, but we're not there yet.
Okay. Okay. So we got a comment from Mark Anthony Jenkins. And I think it's right on time. It says, been using ChatGPT for a month and it's awesome. And he's learned a lot. And I'd like to follow that up with there's a lot of new technologies that are coming out.
Hmm.
And they all say they're going to change the world. But from a small business owner impact,
Yeah.
many of them haven't materialized the way that you would have expected.
Yeah.
Blockchain, you know, it's big, it's being used by big companies, but as a small business outside of the cryptocurrencies, which you probably don't want to be in right now, anyways,
Yeah.
you're not really using blockchain.
Right.
Um, the metaverse, it's out there, it's being used some, but we're not really doing much in the metaverse. And
Yeah.
I guess Facebook's given up on it or whatever. So, that hasn't really materialized the way we expected it to. But it looks like ChatGPT is actually becoming useful
Yeah.
for small business owners and what they do, um, which is great. And because of that, what would you say the key things that small business owners can use should be using or look to use chat GPT for?
Yeah. Let me start with those, and then I want to kind of circle back to what normally happens with technology in terms of kind of this curve of super excitement, and then what's called a trough of disillusionment, I think they call it, and then a curve that slowly goes back up as people's expectations become more realistic again, and they figure out how they can really start using some of these tools to actually improve productivity instead of there kind of being tools that are looking for a solution, so to speak. But the biggest thing that, at least that I've seen so far, that small businesses can use this tool for is content creation. Hands down. Most people do not like to write. Okay. And writing, either if you're doing it, it's time consuming and it can be painful if you don't like to write. Or you can pay someone else to do it, which is expensive if you want to get it done well. One of the things that ChatGPT can do is do some of the writing for you. So, as one example, I was experimenting last night, and I asked ChatGPT to create the outline of a business plan for a soul food restaurant in downtown Newark. And it came back with, it was about a 2-page outline that talked about everything from vision to marketing to operations and the finances and so forth. I asked it to uh, give me a design for a website, and it gave me the outline for a design for a website. I asked it to give me some ideas for an outline for a flyer. It did that. I asked it to give me an example of how to do a monthly budget for a restaurant like that. And it came back with a list of line items relevant to that type of establishment. So that's one example. But another one would be writing blog posts. And, the thing about this tool is that there are more potential applications and questions that we can ask, and this is why it's good that so many people are jumping in and kind of testing it. Thanks, Mark. Yep, that's perfect. So as you can see what Mark mentioned, use ChatGPT to create content for his book and also to write a business plan for his business. So whether it be blog posts, ebooks, full-length books, articles, emails, thank you, Daryl, writing a lease. So here's the thing, and yep, and they just keep coming, estimated financial projections. Now, having said all of that, one of the things I'm still trying to figure out is why did this tool grow from start, I think back in November, December, to 100 million users in about 2 months, which is faster by far than any other technology has ever been adopted in the history of the world. I still don't have a good answer, but I think one of the reasons is because it represents kind of a democratization of artificial intelligence. And that's just another way of saying it is a tool that everybody can use for what they're doing on a daily basis. And it's user friendly. So even though we've all been interacting with AI for years, it's been in the background. If you've ever shopped from Amazon, if you've ever used a social media platform, many websites, all of those use AI on the back end. But now this is a tool that we can use, and you don't have to be a programmer. You don't have to be a data scientist. You don't have to be any of those things. You can be a fourth grader that's just trying to pass their test, and you can use this tool to make things work. So I already mentioned content is one area. If you have someone that's familiar with a little bit with programming and knows how to work with APIs, application programming interfaces, you can use it as a chat bot for your business. So those are just some. Now, what's coming, and well, I shouldn't say what's coming. There are other similar tools that use artificial intelligence for image creation. So for those that are doing design, which is not my area, so it's nothing that it's something I don't know anything about other than just looking at pictures. But there are tools out there like Dolly and some other tools that allow you to become unbelievably creative when it comes to design. So those are kind of like sister tools for a different type of application, but similar idea. You're using artificial intelligence to become more productive, more creative. So I'll stop there because there are other rabbit holes that I could go down, but
Okay. No, that's excellent. So so definitely for content, and we'll go into it, but I think definitely you mentioned this is something anybody can use, and it is sort of the first real time. All you got to do is ask it for what you want. It's easy to use in Facebook, any social media, and all those things. But with any technology, it's only as good as the data and information that's in it. So, it's important to understand that you can't just have it do everything without looking at it. And the more input you give, the better your output's going to be.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, so
Exactly.
talk a little bit about how that works. Maybe if you have an example of sort of creating some content, what are some best practices around creating some content through ChatGPT?
Okay. Here's the thing. and this is something that I'm still learning about, and there are resources and so forth out there um, on how to do this, and everyone is experimenting with it. But one of the things, and Mark and some of the others on the call who've started experimenting with have found this out, I'm sure, is that the more specific the instructions you can give it, the better. And that you'll spend some time experimenting with how to word your queries so that they give you back relevant and good responses. And there's a fancy term called prompt engineering. The prompt is just another word for the question that you type into chat. And when you do that, you're basically instructing ChatGPT how to structure the response. And the the cool thing is that you can ask it for a list of 10 bullet points about a subject. You can ask it to give you 5 paragraphs about a subject. You can ask it for it to write you a 500-word article about a subject. So, Mark, in answer to your question, prompt engineering is just a fancy way of saying learning how to ask questions of ChatGPT that give you the best responses. Now, Andrew, and this is one of the reasons I was looking forward to having this discussion with an engineer, because Andrew can help me with sanity checks as I try to learn about this technology. The old saying, garbage in, garbage out, as long as we're using data, that is never going to change. So one of the concerns about ChatGPT and other, not just artificial intelligence, but anything that's using data and relying on data to give you outputs, is the answers you get back are only going to be as good as the data that the tool was trained on. So I come back again to the fact that this tool was trained on data sets up until 2021. Now, later, if Andrew, if you remind me, I'll talk a little bit about what is coming, or what we hear is coming. We have 2 Marks on the call. Thanks, Mark S. Mark, and so one of the things that you want to do is when you ask ChatGPT to write you something, go back and edit it in your own voice. Do not take something that ChatGPT has written for you. And here I'm talking about something that's longer than a headline or a subject line. You can ask ChatGPT to give you 10 headlines for an article, and it'll give you 10 headlines for an article. And of course, you're going to be specific about 10 headlines for an article about factors that companies need to consider when they're issuing guidelines for how their employees should be using ChatGPT. Please give me 10 potential headlines or titles for an article about that subject. If it's something short like a headline, ChatGPT will come back with 10 headlines. You may pick one and not have to tweak it at all. But anything longer than that, any type of blog post, article, social media post, you can ask it to write you a social media post about a specific subject. You want to read it over, edit it so that it's in your own voice. And one thing that I definitely recommend is read it aloud. And this is true for any writing. When you read something aloud, and I don't mean read it to yourself, I mean read it aloud so you can hear it. Because when you do that, you can immediately tell what types of things will trip you and trip you up. And if you stumble over it as the person that's written it, in this case in collaboration with ChatGPT, then your reader will stumble over it. So it's more work, but read the final product out loud to make sure that it reads smoothly, that you remove any things that kind of trip you up while you're reading them, and that it's at least close to your voice and that it doesn't sound stilted. That is super important because one of the things that people are most concerned about, understandably, with technologies like this is authenticity. Because from now on, one thing that is probably changed and will probably never change back is from now on, everyone's going to assume that AI was somehow involved in virtually every communication that goes out from businesses and individuals that are communicating with, especially with the public. Because now that this technology is here and people are using it, and unfortunately, a lot of people are misusing it because they are just taking the content as is and just pasting it and not doing any edits, not doing any changes into their own voice, um, and so forth. And people are concerned about, how do I maintain the humanity in this? Well, you've got to work with the tool, not let the tool lead you. So, Andrew, that was a long answer to a short question.
Okay. But
Was I at least in the ballpark in terms of what you originally asked about?
yeah, no, I mean, I think that was helpful. You know, definitely, one key thing is you can put more, um, you could actually put a lot of info in before it works on the AI part. So you could almost put a paragraph in and ask for two paragraphs, and that'll make it a way better two paragraphs than if you just told it what you wanted it about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
and that's, I guess, the prompt
Exactly.
engineering side of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and there, believe it or not, there are already books on prompt engineering. It's just unbelievable. But
Okay.
what I know I'm still trying to get my arms around, and I think I have a lot of company on this, is figuring out, okay, how do we make this tool work for us?
Mm,
And are there some situations where it doesn't make sense to change a thing because it's going to take us more time to try to use the tool for something that we could continue to do the same way that we've always been doing, and it still works?
mhm.
So where a lot of us are trying to get a handle on, okay, where can this tremendously increase productivity, and where is it, a technical solution looking for a problem to solve? But one area that people are already raving about is the content creation. Customer service is another one, and there are quite a few others.
Okay.
Um, yeah, thank you, Lori. There are already tools out there to try to detect AI created content, but believe it or not, there are other tools that you can plug AI created content into that look like it hasn't been created
Well,
by AI.
well, that's like the radar detector. You got the radar detector, then you got the anti-radar detector, and then you got the new radar detector. Um,
Yeah.
but we got some comments from our resident tech expert, Computer Solutions Unlimited, Rob Leslie. So
Yep.
just furthering what you said about you know this within the last year, and then also a little bit of history on
Yep.
you know chat GPA and or
Yeah.
chat GPT. So it needs a new name. I
It
think I'm
really,
gonna
I
just
think,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm gonna just call it Chatty,
chatty. There you go. That's
because that's
sticky.
much easier.
Yeah, that's chatty, and we can call it chatty 4
Yeah.
and so forth. So yeah, yeah,
So, okay. So no, definitely, great points, great comments. I think definitely we wanted to make it interactive discussion, and different perspectives and different people are using it different ways, which is great. We're going to take a break for a sec, just share some information about some of the things that we're doing here for people at Small Business Pro University. So, a couple of the things that we do is, many of you may know, we do the Power Breakfast conference for entrepreneurs and business owners 3 to 4 times a year. And it's a great way to really learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and, gain useful knowledge. So here's a little bit about what the Power Breakfast is all about. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
All right, welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here hanging out with Stan Robinson, and we're talking small business. We're really going into and talking about Chatty to see, just how that can help you as a small business owner, and a little bit about want to start looking at what are some of the things that we can expect from it in the future. But before you answer that, quick question from Daryl Spence. It's open source now. What are your thoughts on the future of it?
Open source, in terms of open source software and anyone being able to jump in, if that's what you mean, the short answer is I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about the programming side and what's going on behind the scenes to be able to give you a good answer to that one, Daryl. I wish I could be more helpful. Now, if you mean open source in the sense of having a free version that anyone can use, that's something totally different. And yeah, I think we can spell it either way. We'll have to decide whether it's Chatty with 2 T's and a Y, or so y'all decide and let me know.
Yeah.
But so depending on, whether you're talking about open source in terms of open source software code, don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. Open source in terms of a free version and a paid version, probably. I was looking at some information about what it costs to run this thing, and some estimates estimated around $3 million a month now for OpenAI to run this.
Okay.
Which is significant. Although when you're talking about Microsoft, they can afford it. But they do have a $20 a month version, which is, for me, it's worth the investment.
Okay.
And, it's a cancel anytime type of thing.
Okay.
But so there's free version. The only challenge with the free version is that you can't always get in, as many of us have found. The challenge with the paid version is that you can always get in if the system's up.
Mm-hmm.
So you notice the caveat, because it was down for part of the day yesterday. But to my knowledge, that was the first time I'd seen that happen.
Okay. Cool. So, so definitely, that's key. And maybe even like, we can evolve it, maybe Chatty G instead of Chatty.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
As I said, y'all let me know.
yeah, I was up late last night, so I'm a little bit delirious. So don't mind. Uh, but but definitely. So now for some of the future, there's all kinds of great technology coming, that's already out, coming out. You can translate or transcribe stuff in real time. You can translate stuff in real time. Um, you know, where are we going? Are we going to need people anymore? Um, what is it that we should expect in the short term and the long term?
Yeah, well, I'm glad we have Rob on the call because he'll give you the short answer. The machines are going to take over. The question is yeah, I did hear about the Stanford students being able to I guess clone or copy it. Um, don't know how they do it. Those folks are smart there. But in terms of things coming up in the short term, things that will be included in Chat GPT-4, one will be image recognition, I believe. So in addition to being able to work with text, this will be able to do things like recognizing images. And it's my understanding there's already technology out there such that you can take a picture of what you have in your fridge and the AI will create recipes for you based on everything you have in your refrigerator, okay, that can be used in a recipe. And of course, you have in the picture. So the fancy word I think they're using for these new capabilities for ChatGPT 4 are multimodal. So being able to interact with images and audio. Now, that's not out to the public yet. GTP4 is available to paid users only. They haven't released it to free ChatGPT users yet. But those are some of the things that are coming is just being able to interact with and eventually, I would imagine, get output back in different forms. Text is awesome, but being able to go from, say, text to audio. Now, by the way, in terms of things some of y'all probably already reading about, those of us who use voice as part of the security for bank accounts, well, that's been problematic because there's already technology out there that can duplicate your voice well enough to get past that type of security. So for those of y'all who are in the cybersecurity field, you will never, ever be without a job, at least not in our lifetime. Um, but on the positive side, the ability to interact with different modes of communication like visual and audio, that's something that's coming in the relatively short term.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So, um, we don't know where everything's going, but one thing about technology in the future is things tend to be, get better, cheaper, and faster.
And faster.
Which in many ways benefits small business owners because it allows us to do way more than we ever could do with less, and with our flexibility and other stuff. So as a small business owner, how do you see yourself using ChatGPT and other AI programs in the future?
So as you mentioned, one of the things that I'm excited about as far as how technologies like this can help small business owners, entrepreneurs, is giving them the ability to do some things that they used to have to pay other people for and potentially lowering their costs and helping them become more productive. Now, still getting a handle on exactly how this looks. I mean, we already talked about content creation. That one's an easy one. We talked about the ability to use this type of technology for chatbots that can handle easily easily answered inquiries to your website. So customer service. Other people are starting to use this technology as a personal assistant. Now, again, that's one of my research projects, is to find out exactly how they're doing this and what type of programming, if any, is involved. Because one of the things that I didn't even talk about, and there may be some programmers on the call, that programmers are using ChatGPT to double check the software programs that they write, to check for bugs. If they're trying to program something in Python or Ruby or something like that, and they run into an obstacle, they're asking ChatGPT, hey, I've got this code, I'm trying to do this, how do I do it? And ChatGPT helps them. So there are applications like that that I think it's going to help lower the cost. Now, we've been talking about writing. So you can give ChatGPT instructions to write the content for your website, for web pages, for blog posts, for standard operating procedures. It can help you get your new employees up to speed faster, because it can help you to create documentation for how you want things to run in your business. And I'm not going to say nobody likes writing that, but most business owners have no interest in writing documentation. And that's something that you can offload to a tool like ChatGPT and then come back and fine tune it. We're never going to get away from, at least in the short term, having a human being look at the output, fine tune it, and make sure that it makes sense. Because one of the things I didn't mention is something called hallucinations, which is where you ask a question, the response comes back, and it makes zero sense at all. Now, what's even more dangerous, and the thing that we all need to be aware of with this type of technology, is that it will give you, or it can give you, a response that sounds really plausible, but is totally wrong. And it will give it back to you with the same apparent level of confidence than it would if it gave you a perfectly correct answer. So common sense and critical thinking are still super important. You've got to sanity check whatever you get back. But Andrew, in answer to your questions, things like Rob just mentioned, programming, things like designing a website and starting to create the content for the web pages. You can do those types of things, and then you can still pay an editor or a copywriter, but you won't need to pay them nearly as much, because most of the work will be done. All they'll be doing is looking at a product and fine tuning it.
Okay. So, and time, time is money as a small business owner, and, it can take you hours to write, an article, to write the content for your website. And, if that's not your expertise anyways, it can take even more time and doesn't even end up being that good. So, definitely, it can be a tremendous resource for entrepreneurs and business owners. So,
Andrew, if I can mention one other thing,
okay.
just so I don't forget real quick. The temptation is to use this as a search tool. Some people are asking, is this going to replace Google? No, it does something different from Google. Even though it looks like this tool can be used as a search tool, keep in mind, as Rob dropped in the chat, data only goes up to the end of 2021. And what this tool does is it gives you it creates or generates new content. So it's not going out and searching what's on the current internet. It's taking a data set that it's already got and giving you an answer based on that.
Okay.
So for that reason, it's not designed to do the same thing that Google is. So you shouldn't use it like that. In time, and Bing has already started to do this, what's going to happen is the tool is going to be able to go out, search the internet, pull information from the current web, and answer to your question, run it through natural language processing, and spit out an answer like ChatGPT does now. That's coming.
Okay. Excellent. So you missed your calling.
Precious.
So
yeah, let me just let that one go.
So how is ChatGPT, ChatGPT updated?
Chatty. You know, that's a question that I'm gonna, Maria, what I would suggest that you do, jump into ChatGPT and ask it.
Okay.
So, because that's what I'm gonna go back and do. Because what I don't know is how often, we know that the data's cut off as of 2021. I think it's like September of 2021. So what I don't know is how often, you know, they're incorporating new data into it. So Maria, that's one I have to find out myself.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, you know, one thing that's always a challenge is an hour goes really fast, especially when you're talking about interesting stuff. But I think this has been great because you know, having a dialogue on this. This is really a technology tool that, you know, all of us as small business owners can benefit from and actually use as is right now. So you know, hopefully you've got more of a perspective on from joining us. But what I'd like you to do is think about, you know, we talked about a whole bunch of things. Think about 3 things that people should focus on going forward after this call in terms of ChatGPT and being able to use that to benefit their business. So take a second to think about those. I'm going to take a minute to just share a couple things. You know, number one, you know, we've got the Small Business Pro Network, so I encourage you to join. And also, one of the benefits of the Small Business Pro Network is we have mini courses that are available for free, and one of them is you know, a summary or a introduction to the Masterpreneur Playbook, and that's really a book that I wrote to help people understand the 5 steps that are required to be able to grow a business. So we'll take a minute just to see what those are, and then we'll be back with Stan talking small business.
The best sports teams have a proven playbook. Everyone should have one. We've got one for you because there are so many things you need to know as a business owner. Many business owners work longer and harder for less money than if they had a job because they are on the wrong path.
Break that cycle with the Masterpreneur Playbook, a 5-step business growth plan that addresses the challenges that business owners face going from working in their business to working on their business. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, a business growth pro and CFO. The Masterpreneur Playbook incorporates proven strategies for successfully growing your business that I discovered during my personal journey.
Is there any reason you wouldn't want to accelerate the growth of your business, make more money, and have more free time? Of course you would. Don't hesitate. Visit www.spprou.com to download a complimentary copy of the Masterpreneur Playbook today.
Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Stan Robinson, and you know, as we close it out with 3 key things that you should be taking away from today that you can really take and implement starting tomorrow or even tonight if you're working late, to really take advantage of the benefits of ChatGPT. So, Stan, what should we know and what should we be thinking about and focusing on?
Um, my suggestions would be, and one you've heard before, which is when you do start experimenting with it, before you release anything to the public that you've produced using ChatGPT, please double check it, sanity check it. If you have to Google some of the answers, if they don't make sense, do that. Because ChatGPT does not know when it's wrong, unfortunately. So we still need to take some time just to make sure that it makes sense. Another thing is, in your business, look and see if there are any repetitive tasks that may be able to be automated. Okay, because this is a tool that may be able to help you with some of those. And the good news about being a small business before you take on a large staff is that as a small business, you may not have to worry about cutting people's jobs, because you may still be the person doing those 5 different jobs that in the future you would have 5 different people doing. So before you even reach the point where you've got 5 people doing those jobs, think about what can be automated now. And the other is, we haven't talked about this, but it's a question, well, I think we touched on authenticity, is just deciding how you're going to let customers, etc., know when, say, content that you've produced has been written in collaboration with ChatGPT, so that they know that, and this is something, as I said, eventually everyone's just going to assume it. But right now we're kind of in a transition phase. And if any of you are in professional services, you definitely, number one, this is not a substitute for your professional advice. Law firms, I'm sure CPA firms, financial services firms are already sending out emails saying, do not use this to issue professional advice. So those are a few things just to keep in mind.
Okay. So you said trust but verify.
Yes.
um, you want to use it to automate, but rather than getting rid of people, you want to use it to not have to bring on more people in many ways, because those tasks are still going to be done. And you have to make it yours. You have your brand. You communicate in a certain way. So you have to make whatever content, make sure that it's yours, and what you want it to say comes through. So this is great, Stan. So thank you again for coming out, spending the evening chatting with me about Chatty G. And actually, I'm going to send something out on that, and maybe it'll go viral. Because I'm sure that a lot of other people don't know, have trouble pronouncing it or remembering all the
You
letters.
got it. Chatty G. Love it. Yes. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate the invitation. This has
All
been
right.
good.
So thank you so much. Hang out for a minute as I close it out. So once again, just want to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks for people who, took a minute to join the community. Encourage you to join. We're doing some great stuff, and now is a good time to join in. So we're creating an ecosystem for entrepreneurs and small business owners to really connect, to get access to resources, and to get access to great content. So that's really what the Small Business Pro community or network is all about. So, as we know, each week we bring in a special guest and a special topic. So next week, excited about having Byron Wolf, and we're going to focus on profit and where the real growth is. So at the end of the day, if your business isn't growing, it's dying. So we want to make sure that you know how to focus on where the real growth is, because the goal is to make 2023 our best year ever. And I'm definitely on track to do that. Precious, I know you're on track to do that, and many other people that I'm working with and know are going to do that too. So looking forward. Thanks for turning in, and always remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more profitably your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.